Today. Our talk today is about collectives in the GCC. And I'm going to introduce, I urge you to look more into after this panel is over. Rawa Majdi is co-founder and president of the Kuwait Poet Society. Sara bin صفوان, founder and curator of Bnat Collective. And Sara Ahmad, founder and editor of الأقلام. And now we're going to see a short presentation about الأقلام.
Hi, I'm Sara from الأقلام. We're a platform for Middle Eastern artists and creatives in general. We feature work by people all over the Middle East and the ones who live abroad. We focus on mostly emerging artists, people who are not yet famous or anything. And sometimes we feature people who don't even see themselves as artists and creatives. Most of our content is online because the Wi-Fi is free and everything goes online. And we have issues, general issues and themed issues. Our last themed issues were blue, plants, and memory. We basically give out a call for submissions and we ask people to submit. We leave it on for 5 months, 6 months, sometimes a year till we get good content for our issues. You can check this online. All of them are there. Other stuff we feature are collages, mixed media, that's embroidery art by a Saudi artist, القي. Mohini, she does digital collages, paintings. If we can put them online, it can definitely get featured. We have photographs by Shabmoha, Chandi, if you guys know them, they're awesome. GIFs, we focus on online content, so GIFs is becoming a bit more famous recently. Our latest thing in 2017 was getting into workshops. We had a zine workshop in Sharjah Art Foundation. We've had 2 so far, and this was from the last one in February, I think. We went around and we took pictures of Sharjah Art Foundation neighborhood, and each person, each collaborator or contributor focused on a theme around the same place, and we worked on zines. Our e-store is our latest big project. We published 4 zines so far, and we've collaborated with artists in Saudi Arabia, Netherlands, Kuwait, Dubai, and Japan. And we created small packages for them to give to their friends and family, and we sold some of them online and in the jam jar. And this is where you can find us.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Rawa.
So, my name is Rawa Majdi, and I am co-founder and president of Kuwait Poet Society. We're a collective of poets in Kuwait who write poetry and cultivate the spaces to share it. Kuwait Poet Society started out pretty much just with a tweet. My sister and I had this idea to bring poets together and kind of chill and have coffee and share our poetry. So I put out a tweet. We got some interest, some DMs. And we put together a WhatsApp group. After that, a couple of weeks later, we met, and that photo is from our very first meeting, and that was in January of 2016. I think we were around 10 people. Since then, we've grown to 80 plus people. We put together different kinds of workshops. We have feedback sessions. Technical difficulties. Yeah, okay. So we put together different workshops, feedback sessions, open mics. We collaborate with different groups across Kuwait. And we have a poetry and a poetry and music night every month. So the photo up top is from one of our recent feedback sessions. To the left is a collaboration that we had with a local art group called Art Space, where we had 20 poems featured next to 20 pieces of art that were actually inspired by the poems, and it was all local work. And to the right is a photo from one of our open mics. This is from Voices and Verses, our poetry and music night. And yeah, this was from March. So moving forward, what we would like to do is actually reach out to different collectives, different poetry collectives across the region, in the Middle East and North Africa, and just kind of bring together some kind of larger collective. This photo is what we send into the WhatsApp group when the talk gets kind of off topic, and it does a lot because we're all, really close friends. And it's pretty much explains what we do as Kuwait Poet Society. We bring more poetry, and more poetry is needed, so that's what we do.
Thank you, Rawa. And now we're going to hear from Bnat Collective.
Oh, well, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Kuwait Poet Society, or check out our website, kuwaitpoetsociety.com.
Hello, my name is Sara bin صفوان. I am the founder and curator for Bnat Collective. We are an independent online platform at the moment, which we're opening the discussion about feminism and womanhood, especially in Middle East and North Africa, and also using it as a space to connect, for artists to connect and to collaborate together. We are trying to open more discussions, whether it be around feminism or artist practice. We're looking to build creative community, especially regionally. A lot of our artists, some of them don't actually live in the region, but they are from the region and live internationally. And as a whole, to promote artist practice and to represent artists from the region. These are a few artists that I'm going to show you that have been featured already on the website. Basically, start out just by presenting some pictures or ideas about artists and introduce them. We have a research practice. This is Safwan, who is a graphic designer, and this project specifically was targeted for misrepresentation of Saudi women in the media and also hijabi women in the media, and kind of like turning those roles and contrasting it with statements that have come from the mainstream. This is Arwa Salami, and she's a digital illustrator, and here she's exploring her identity. This is Taqwa Al-Naqbi, an artist from Khurfakan. She takes her grandmother's dresses and then turns the textile into paper and uses kind of memories from her grandmother's stories and embeds them into the artwork. Jamila Al-Faki, she's a London-based photographer who also runs Azima magazine, and she is basically exploring women of color from MENA and their identities. In the middle of it all is our current project. This is our first project as well. It's a publication exploring the themes of coming of age. And we did an open call and we received over 70 submissions and narrowed it down to about 30 or so artists that will be featured in the book. It will be a range of art, photography, poetry, written, prose, collage, everything. And then our future goals, we are small at the moment, but we hope to expand and create a stamp, especially in physical realm, to do exhibitions and workshops, events, and especially meetups to kind of get more of that connection between the creatives together. And of course, you can check out our website, which is where all our main content is and all our updates, Instagram and Twitter, Banaat Collective.
Website or Instagram account, a blog. It really talks about what's happening right now in the world. I wanted to ask you about the demographic of each of your projects and initiatives. What are you targeting? What's the reaction? How are they talking to you about it? What's the discourse that's happening? If you want to start.
Sure. So Kuwait Poet Society is mostly young people. We have poets who range from, let's say, age 16 to probably around 28 to 29. We have people from all different kinds of identities, from all different nationalities, ethnicities, etc. And it's just kind of like a safe space for everybody to come together and to kind of share their poetry, to perform if they'd like to.
Yeah, so for us, even though we do a lot of discussion about feminism and womanhood, we do open the floor to all genders. We've actually had a few submissions from men, which is really interesting to see that. But that's part of the whole idea, to create more of that discussion. At the moment, especially with our recent coming of age project, we received a much younger audience. Even all the way down to, I think it was 15. But we go all the way up in ages, and then also concentrating on the region, but obviously open to international submissions as well.
Most of our demographic are from GCC, which is what we noticed, even though we're open for people all over MENA. But most of them are from GCC, a lot from Saudi Arabia, and also Oman and Kuwait. Teenagers and people our ages, like 20s, 30s. I think the eldest was in their 30s, but we're open for all ages.
But it's really a younger demographic.
It's mostly younger demographic because they're online most.
And I think also like focusing on, for us anyway, emerging and young talent. A lot of our artists are just figuring out their practice while in university or something like that. Even some are not calling themselves artists at all, but like to do it on the side and using it as that. But that is what makes it really the platform. What we're here for is to kind of give the voice for those artists who would have not otherwise have those kind of opportunities.
And we were talking about earlier how you're creating these safe spaces for them to really explore different ideas and concepts, and that's really valid for all three of your platforms. I wanted to ask Sara, Ahmed, and Rawa about moving from online platform into, or an online space like a WhatsApp group, into an actual space. Can you talk to us about how that happened?
We started, I feel like we always have to say how we started, because we literally started as something completely different. It was a blog called Hadi Haratna, and it was just basically me contacting people and telling them, can I use display your photos in this blog, like different neighborhoods. Hadi Haratna means this is my neighborhood. So we just wanted to put more of other Arabs' content in one place, but then it kind of grew into contacting artists, contacting poets, contacting anyone I can find online before it became an e-magazine. It was just me putting stuff in one place so that people can access it. But now, since it's a platform and it's growing quickly, we wanted to do more creative sessions. We wanted to have more tangible things that people can buy, and everything by artists, like everything we sell or everything we do is handmade, hand printed, everything we do, and we try to make it more affordable so that everyone can get a chance to obtain it. And the workshops too, they're more for people to explore creativity, because like she said, people don't identify as artists. And when they come, they try things out, they just want to do more, I guess.
So like I said, Kuwait Poets Society started out as a tweet, and then we started a WhatsApp group. And actually, we mostly talked over the WhatsApp group, and we met once a month. And that it was like that for around 6 months. So we started in January 2016, and it was up until May 2016 where we didn't even have a name. So most of the time we were just a group of poets who were just talking over WhatsApp about different things. But in November, we decided to move towards more like events rather than just meeting up once a month and talking over WhatsApp. So that's when we started our Voices and Verses poetry nights. In March, we started our open mic night. So we've been moving to more like physical spaces rather than just the online space, even though I believe that Kuwait Poet Society would not even exist without the internet.
But it was really this like alternative space that accepted you to come and do these like new things in Kuwait.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Sara, I wanted to ask you, we were discussing earlier about how you had traveled and come back and how that connection changed to your country.
Yeah, so I lived in London for 4 years during my studies, and then I completely fell in love with the fact that there was this whole independent realm in London that, especially students, that they could explore and like try out their thinking, whereas I felt that back here in the UAE, there was this kind of a space that was lacking in that, where people could actually go out and, hold their own exhibitions or get their studio space and do things like that on a smaller scale. Of course, we have, the great institutions here, but we're also thinking about like the smaller initiatives rather. So I felt just a complete disconnect when I came back. I didn't know any artists, I didn't know any creative thinkers, and I wanted to meet them so that I could know my network. And that was really important because I think an earlier talk was saying on how community is super important for creative practice, and that support is needed. Otherwise, if you're just creating art on your own, you probably won't get too far. And the connection for community is starting to have more meetings within our own teams and collectives where we talk, and people say that, this is what I'm working on, have any thoughts about it, and like any second looks, which is really helpful to have a second set of eyes, especially like on anything.
Exactly, yeah, and that's a great segue into what I wanted to talk about, is the fact that all three of you with your initiatives are creating these really interesting opportunities for people in the creative field and people who didn't ever think that they were going to be in the creative field or ever think of themselves as artists. And I think it's, I know you don't want to say this, but I think it's really creating career paths for certain people to look into. I know that each one of you has a different story, so I really want to hear from all of you about this.
So before Kuwait Poet Society started to do kind of their events, there were not that many spaces where poets could actually share their work in Kuwait. There were a couple of open mics here and there, a couple of like poetry nights here and there, but they would only happen maybe once or twice a year. So Kuwait Poet Society actually having our bi-weekly open mics, having our monthly poetry nights gives way for these poets who are still kind of like, maybe not even calling themselves poets yet. And I think, Sara, you mentioned that some of these artists don't call themselves artists. They're just people who write poems. And they're actually good poems, and they actually need to be on stage. It kind of gives the stage for it, and it kind of allows people to, I don't know about, I know a lot of people would be against the idea that poetry is a career path, but in a way, it's kind of like, it gives them that, if they would like to pursue that, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And for us currently, with our publication coming on, this is going to be a real tangible thing that people can hold and
you have a team.
Yeah, and we have a team, and so Fatma Noor, the artist that I showed earlier, I interviewed her just because her work was interesting, but then she offered, you know, if you have anything for me to design, like I'd be happy to. And then the publication came along and she's been designing the whole book and designing our business cards and doing the whole branding, and that is her experience for her to help her connect between her university life and then hopefully going on to a full-time job. And we even have 2 editors and a social media manager who do this work on. We all do volunteer work on the side. This is kind of our second job. But yeah, it's super important from the beginnings to have that experience that we can give to them, and then they can have something to show as well.
And that was really, but that was really not something that you expected, I think, all 3 of you, from when you started off with this initiative or blog or tweet, that you're going to have a team, you know, you're going to create like your own like little entity for yourselves.
That was one of the most difficult things, because when I started Jaffat, it was manageable, but then it wasn't, and I needed help, and admitting that I needed help was like the first step. I didn't want the team to expand a lot, because then it would be a bit chaotic, so we're expanding slowly. At first we had our editors. I'm not sitting right in front there. And there's Amna and there's Dina, they're both editors. And then recently we've had illustrator Rama and Nadim. He does interviews, or Nadim was also a contributor. Rama found out about Jaffat al-Aqlam also through the internet. And we put the call out and people responded. So growing as a team and getting to where we want is happening this year. I'm sure of it.
It's really amazing that you're giving these opportunities to people, and you know you're creating a little family. It's really lovely.
Yeah, I think that also, like, we didn't, I feel like for Banaat anyway, like I didn't really make it for you know, something to put on my CV or anything like that. It was really like my self-exploration and like into my career path, and like I'm researching these artists and I'm interviewing them, I'm creating the connections, and it's all about that relationship and that bond. So yeah, it's just.
But now it has become into something that people put on their CV, people put on their website, featured in Jaffat, featured in Banaat, part of Kuwait Poet Society. It's become a part of their experience. And what the audience doesn't know is that we have all connected online as well previous to this talk. I would have known a lot of people in this panel if it wasn't for Instagram, Twitter, things like that. And I think you've all somehow applied to each other's initiatives as well, right?
Before meeting too. Meeting for the first time, yeah. I think I applied for Banaat when she started. Rama submitted to Jaffat. I asked Rnin for permission to put one of her photos that was taken by Shab Moha, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Sara was the first artist that I interviewed, and then it just became like a whole, you know, segue into all of these connections. And then also Rawa, I interviewed her, and you can see her performances on the website. And the logo is done by Rama as well. And, you know, it's all of this, like, connection. And, you know, you tried to get into a heated conversation on our Instagram. And I'm like, who is this girl? And, like, but then we started talking, and then that was the whole idea. It was just like, okay, we're creating these conversations, and all of a sudden, like, I would have not otherwise have met these people if it wasn't for Banaat in my case.
And it becomes this global community, this connection to each other, the language that you use, the people that you're trying to reach out to. It all becomes this cycle that we're all kind of living in together. So I wanted to ask you about what's the plan for the future. I know each one of you talked a little bit, but I'm sure you have bigger plans that you want to give in detail.
More publications and more. We want to make them more accessible. I mean, printing them and having the money to print them would be awesome, but we want to make them accessible to everyone, so they would be online. Hopefully, we can go to other countries and do workshops, more zines, more creative sessions. I think that this is mostly the artist directory we're currently working on, since Jafat al-Aqlam has been more of a place for other artists to kind of meet each other and work on collaborations. So we want to make it more easier for people to search, to find someone they can collaborate with, create a small community for people to easily access each other's art. But that's it for now, I guess, yeah.
I sense Kuwait Poet Society, Jafat al-Aqlam workshop in the future.
It
Yes,
has to
come to
happen
Kuwait.
when I come to Kuwait.
For KPS, we would really like to, and I mentioned this before, to bring kind of all of the poetry collectives, all of the poetry societies across the region together in some form of maybe some kind of conference, a slam competition, just something that brings everybody together. Because we currently know of, and we know people in different countries who are doing kind of a similar thing. There are open mics going on in Qatar. There are open mics, definitely a huge scene here in the UAE, Egypt, Sudan. So many different kinds of places doing their own thing in their own space. But we want to be able to bring that all together and kind of make it like a structured, larger collective. And that's our major thing right now. And to keep doing what we're doing, keep putting a spotlight on the amazing poets in Kuwait and outside of it.
My very first initial thoughts upon creating the collective Banaat was that I really, really wanted to do exhibitions. It's something that I'm super passionate about. I think it's something that is a great tool for people to learn and see art, and see more art, especially in the UAE and Abu Dhabi. I would really love to do more meetups and make it more of what is the name collective, to come together and to discuss and create ideas, and start forming those, and hopefully they shall blossom into real art and things. But all in all, just to keep creating and keep collaborating, whether it be through workshops or through publications, exhibitions. We want to be everywhere.
And now, thank you ladies so much for this. And a treat for the audience and for us. Rawa is going to do a small performance.
Thank you, Rani. So, can everybody hear me okay? Okay, hopefully this stays okay. This piece is called Mother Tongue. Mama goes mute when the man asks us where we're coming from. I answer and he peers at her, wonders aloud, why on earth are we letting in people who don't even know the language? I want to tell him the language is no requirement. And besides that, she speaks it, but we are eyebrows raised, itch the mustache away from another hour of questioning, so I keep my mouth shut. I go mute when the man asks us where we're coming from. Mama answers and he peers at me, wonders why on earth are people who were born away from their country come back to visit when they don't even know the language. She wants to tell him the language is no requirement. And besides that, I speak it, but we are eyebrows raised, itch the mustache away from being denied entering, so she keeps her mouth shut. This is the way that it goes. Traveling with my mother, we pass off the question answer at the borders like a baton. Based on how fast we can undo the knots in our tongues, it does not matter the shade of passports we carry. Navy blue of the ocean, we just crossed to get there. IDs colored green like the leaves of the olive tree. We are just trying to get home. Away from home, away from home. So we hand it to who handles it best, but this is no race. There is no finish line. We cross into countries that do not claim us, no matter how poetic the wax drips out of our mouths in song. For the grass, the dust beneath our feet, and I have always been flat-footed. And for Mama and me, there is more than just the distance between us and our final destination. There is all that is lost across generations. In translation, we both go mute when I misunderstand and she misunderstands and I misunderstand where she's coming from, spend 2 days trying to come to some sort of conclusion, but the air is heavy with all the words I misspoke in my mother tongue, and my mother's tongue is silent. And God, does it feel like borders sealed shut? One closed gate, like our world is one executive order away. We build walls and call them space, argue and call them peace talks. She is always wondering why I have the tendency to walk away. Warsanshire wrote, no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. With mama, some days it feels as though I am Moses himself floating away from the home I knew was in her hands, except I put myself there. Tiptoe tightropes across oceans on thread too thin for trembling, and I have always been flat-footed. What does it mean to be from? Is it which part of the world's oxygen you first took into your lungs? Is it which language tastes most like sukkar on your tongue? Or is it which anthem sits in your blood and begs to be sung? This earth and all that is drawn on it in imaginary lines, like the curve of a belly, a woman's boots, fingers splayed out across oceans. Do you think she feels it every time we etch another edge into her? Strip search me for something besides love. Find nothing in the x-rays besides X's and O's on bones, trying to abandon the baggage they carry. Pat me down. You will only find a pulse beat out in the tempo of a poem. As for mama, she's the first and only watan I know. My passport, the shade of pink and the inside of the curve of the belly that held me, visa stamp in the shape of her favorite boots. Fingers splayed out across oceans that separated us for years. The only country I come from is the one beneath her feet, and she has always been flat-footed. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rawa. That was
Thank
lovely.
you.
So we're going to open the floor for questions.
مساء الخير. أنا رح أتحدث باللغة العربية لأن سؤالي عن اللغة العربية في مواقعكم الإلكترونية. طبيعي مو كل الناس تقدر تحكي إنجليزي ولا تتواصل باللغة الإنجليزية، فما هي علاقتكم باللغة ضمن مواقعكم أولاً؟ ثانياً، ما هي مواقفكم تجاه الصحافة الورقية؟ يعني أنتم مواقع افتراضية على الواقع الافتراضي، كيف علاقتكم بالواقع الحالي، يعني خصوصاً بالصحافة الورقية، علاقتكم بالناس، كيف تنقلون من الواقع الافتراضي إلى الواقع الحقيقي؟ شكراً.
اللغة العربية شيء جميل. أوكي.
I can answer if it's okay to answer in English. Is that okay? I can, but I would not be able to explain the same way. It would not be.
عربي شوية ضعيف بس.
So. We do have a lot of poets who write in Arabic. So nothing is like, it's not a rule to, you have to write in English, you have to perform in English, you have to speak English. Our thing is that we do have, Kuwait is a melting pot of cultures. We have many Indian members. We have many members who just simply do not speak Arabic just because it's not everybody's language. So our talking in the WhatsApp group or in feedback sessions or workshops and all of these things, they're always in English. Poets are definitely allowed to write in Arabic, and we have a lot of poets who do perform in Arabic, and we actually have some poets who have played along with the fact that a lot of people do speak English and Arabic in Kuwait, and they have created bilingual poems, and it's been beautiful. We have some poets who write absolutely beautiful bilingual poetry. But yeah, Arabic is not a language that all people speak, so it's not necessarily something that we are constantly speaking. It's most of the time English because it's just, kind of global.
نحن توصلنا submissions بالعربي ونحطهم بس قليل، لأن ما قاعد يوصل يعني موقعنا ما قاعد يوصل للعرب كثير أو يوصلوا لناس زينا نتكلم أكثر شيء بالإنجليزي. اللي يوصلنا نقرأه نشوفه. إذا عندنا الأرابيك إديتور مالتنا آمنة تشوفه، تشوف الكلام، تشوف هذا. في البداية كان صعب لأني أنا ما أقدر كيف ما أقدر أسوي إديتنج على العربي، يعني ما أقدر أنا أمسك أي بيس بالعربي وأشوف إن هذا صح ولا لا. فلما توسع التيم مالنا فنقدر ناخذ مور Arabic submissions، نشوف نوصل لناس أكثر. فهو على حسب اللي يوصلنا، يعني مش ما نركز بس على إنجليزي ولا على عربي. وإذا حد فرنسي، لو وسع التيم لحد فرنسي يتكلم فرنسي نقدر نتقبل أشياء فرنسية، لأن في ناس من لبنان أو أي شيء يتكلموا فرنسي. فهو أهم شيء إنه يكون في الشرق الأوسط المكان.
If I can say something, أظن إنه it's about being inclusive. It's about allowing everybody in the community to join. It's not just for Arabic speakers. It's for every member of our society. And that's what makes these collectives so lovely, is that they embrace all the cultures. And also something that I wanted to say is that especially Banaat and Jaffat, there's a lot of visual imagery, so it's not just about text. It's a picture or it's a painting, and it's something that's translatable into any language. I don't know if you want to respond to the newspaper, how you feel about newspaper publication. ككولكتيف هم قاعدين يطبعون الأشياء، يعني تنقلوا من الأونلاين فقط أو العالم الافتراضي إلى أنهم بيعملوا their own publications. هم بيطبعوا لنفسهم. سارة تطبع الزينز عندها بنفسها بيدها، وبنات كولكتيف الآن حيعملوا كتاب. فهم they will join، يعني حينضموا إلى العالم البرنتد، عالم يعني مطبوع.
And it is in our publication is in both languages. Apologies for not replying in Arabic, but even our designer who is designing the book, she is thinking of writing about Arabic type and Arabic graphic design, and she's very thoughtfully put that into our publication. And we also have Arabic poetry and prose in the publication as well. So, and obviously representing MENA, we do have to be aware of the fact that, you know, it is Arabic speaking, but because it is our generation, we are much more in tune with both sides and much more bicultural and speaking in both Arabic and English.
Hi, just a quick question. I'm curious to see, I know that all four of you have had moments in time when you've exchanged or participated in either platform. Are there any ideas bubbling up where you guys are all collaborating with one another for, you know, bigger, greater things? Thank you.
We have to, yeah.
And we're going to collaborate with you, Moni, too. Yeah. Make one giant collective.
Open to all and any collaborations at all times.
I think also since we got here in Abu Dhabi, and we started meeting each other throughout the days. I have met Sara before, but I haven't met the other ladies. So we've been brainstorming about ideas, like, okay, well, we can do this together, let's do this together. And I can hear them also talking when we're at our meetings. So, طيب إيش حنسوي مع بعض? So, yeah, you've opened the door for us. Munira, thank you.
Thank you.
Shukran.
I actually have one more question.
Go ahead.
Just to piggyback on what you were saying, Ranin, existing online, I mean, as some of you may know, I'm not very much an online person. But then, is there a need? Do you feel like there's a need to meet physically on a regular basis, like to have mini Abu Dhabi, or like kind of the way that you guys have been getting together on a regular schedule? Do you feel the need to have something like that, like a physical space as opposed to just an online space?
I would say the internet is a major tool for collaborations, definitely. But there is, of course, a magic in being amongst other creatives and other founders of amazing collectives. So yes, we do know of each other and we've spoken before and we've done different kinds of things. But when we actually met over coffee, you know, there is a magic to it. And I think definitely there is still a need, and like there will always be a need, I believe, for physical meetups. And relating that back to also to KPS, we started off with a tweet, but we were physically meeting every month, and we were using the WhatsApp group, our social media as a tool to kind of put the word out.
And you were thinking about doing these like bigger conferences where you invite other regions into your spaces.
Yeah, and we would be using the internet to reach out to these people, but then they would eventually, you know, be coming to a physical space. So we need both, I think.
Exactly. Like, I feel like the internet is our fastest and our easiest way of connecting with each other, and worldwide, globally. And the word tool is correct. You know, it is a tool. It's not just like the only and one only thing. It is connecting us and like putting us in touch with the real world. And especially, I feel like in terms of art and even poetry, just hearing Rawa now, it gives a much more immersive feeling to see something in real life and to actually feel what we're showing. But that's the whole idea, is growing the community locally and regionally and reaching out to all of these people who would have not otherwise known who we are.
I think there's a question.
So I just have a quick follow-up to the
sure, go
point.
ahead.
Very, very quickly. Would you say that success is then moving your collectives or your movements, your endeavors from the online space into the physical space? Is that how you would define success? Considering a lot of your movements are actually, they live in the space of exchanges.
I don't think one can live without the other. Now that I've known so much about all of these collectives, they work in tandem. The offline and the online space work together. As she was saying, she wants to make a directory, she wants to make a network, and that network is existing both online and offline. I don't know if you guys want to say anything.
I mean, the publication received over 70 submissions, and like that is, and it's our online, and it's our first ever project. So I don't even know if I come out with the second one, how many more I'm going to get. But it is through, you know, that's why we have our social media manager, Farah Frey, who, you know, constantly being out there, because we are dependent on it, and it all lives around us, and yeah, so.
Yeah, I would definitely echo what Rنين is saying. They exist in tandem, and they pretty much can't live without the other at this point. I mean, in this age, yeah, definitely.
Question about challenges. So the daily challenges that you go through, or maybe even minor challenges that you've been through that kind of maybe brought you together or changed your vision or allowed you to be where you are today.
So many answers.
Time.
so many.
Who wants to
Just
start?
time. You know, as we're all doing this on a volunteer basis. This, as I said, it is kind of our second jobs. Specifically for my team, we have only one other local team member in Abu Dhabi, and the others are in Bahrain and in London, and in Germany. So we have to find time to meet and Skype together so that we can push out these ideas faster. But otherwise, WhatsApp groups have been like our holy place and doing that. But yeah, time.
Sometimes the Wi-Fi goes down. Challenges for KPS at first was definitely money. It was just
That's for everybody. Always money.
And I think that's like kind of a conversation that I could speak about a lot when it comes to poetry and money, and poets' societies and money. And I mean, it's just, yeah, just money. I'm just going to say money. I'm not going to go too far. And time, definitely time. There's not enough, you know, it just never feels like there's enough time to do everything that we want to do. Put out a book, you know, reach out to like 1,000 different people, put together like every single event idea we've ever had. It would be amazing too, but you know, 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, you know, 30, I'm not going to continue, but yeah.
Money. I was just a university student and I had an allowance, and that allowance, whatever I can actually keep, was for the website, the submissions, test printing. Test printing takes so much money, and just to get it right and know someone who will do exactly what you need.
But I want to say that even though you're having these problems, you've really like pushed yourself.
Just keep going.
Into like it's not an issue anymore. No. Like you're just like, yeah, if you had it better, it would be better.
Yeah, if things go smoother, we can do a lot more. But
go
there's
online
always
and buy
challenge.
الأقلام books.
And we want things to be affordable, and especially in the UAE, if you're gonna print stuff that are good, that someone would want to keep in their house, it just costs a lot. And we want to make it accessible for teenagers, like people like me who have an allowance and stuff. So that was probably the most challenging. There aren't places that would, I don't know, just give us a discount because we want to make it affordable for people. There's also the time management. It's a bit difficult because the entire team has full-time jobs, and we all do this because we really love doing this and it makes us happy.
Yeah, I just want to highlight again how the internet is most of the part free.
Free, just Wi-Fi is free. Everyone can have Wi-Fi.
Our domain names only cost a little bit of money,
yeah.
and using the internet as like a free and most efficient and fast way to do all of this is the best thing.
Sure.
We have time for one more question, if there's any. If not,
أحد عنده سؤال?
I think someone at the Ziv at the back.
Hello, I'm Mariam, and I have a question for you guys. That, as you said, that internet is the most easiest way to communicate with people and share your work with. But I was like thinking that what if, it's also the easiest way that anybody could copy your work, and in that case, what will be your reaction and what would you do in this case?
That's a really good question.
It's about copyright basically. If people can copy and steal your work.
كل واحد هو وضميره يعني. I can say, because you can't just watermark everything. You just hope people don't do stuff. But yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, well, for Banaat, I really focus on the interview aspect, because it's not just about posting work on social media or anything like that. Like me and my editors, we sit with the person that we're interviewing, and we really make sure that the information is all there, ready, available on our website, and try and spread it as fast as possible to give as much exposure to these people, and hopefully let their work become known. And unfortunately, copying is really a huge issue from the internet, but it's something that we just have to deal with.
It's all about integrity, I think, and just having trust that people are gonna treat your art with respect.
I think there's always been like 1,000 ways anyway to copy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
if someone wants to copy, they're just gonna copy. Yeah. I mean, you can't do anything about it, even if it's in a book or if it's printed or anywhere. They'll just do it.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I would say that if you are an artist and you're worried about your work being copied, make sure that using social media as the tool to make your work known, and so that it becomes less risk.
Yes, but what if that individual person who copied you is more like getting more successful than you, and nobody's realizing that the actual work was yours?
We're gonna fight.
But
I think you have to. I think
Fight, we fight. Fight.
this fight in the
On the
physical
internet,
space.
we just fight.
you call us, and we'll come and get them.
The local girl gang.
Have an online family who can be like, oh.
But that actually happens. Like, I think recently the Sarah Shakil, the one who does glittered stretch marks, someone took Kelly Jenner or someone, I don't know who took it, and they
Kelly
posted
Jenner
it as
steals
their
everything.
own. ما أعرف مين الجماعة هذول. And they posted it as their own, and the entire internet went with her, and she got even more publicity for calling her out on taking her stuff. I think the matter is just finding who did it and then just calling them out.
Yes.
I think, and this is a case for pretty much all artists, that could happen. There's definitely a big what if. Like someone could literally take your poem word for word or your exact piece of art and become more famous for it. It's just something that could happen. If you put your work out into the world, it could happen. But the thing that any artist needs to keep in mind is that your ability to create work is not a limited kind of thing. You have infinite possibilities in you to create all different sorts of work, and you can create something even bigger and better. Not necessarily for revenge, even though, you know, that's probably going to taste pretty good if it actually happens, but kind of like, you know, kind of like continuing to create work, even if that does happen. Doing what you can, of course, but to feel like, oh, this is the end of everything, you know, I created this one thing and it's the last beautiful thing I will ever create. That's not, I mean, if you keep that in mind, then, you know, you can create more. Of course, you can always create more.
And on that note, thank you, ladies, for joining us for this talk.
Thank you, Rani.
Thank you, Abu Dhabi Art, for inviting us.
Thank
And
you,
thank you
Munira.
all of you for attending.